For almost 100 years, Disney was the undisputed king of animation. I mean, they were the invincible empire of entertainment. But lately, it feels like the magic has started to fade. And at the exact same time, a company that used to be seen as the underdog, Sony, has been coming out with these bold, innovative hits that are just capturing everyone's attention. So how did the giant begin to stumble, while a challenger started rewriting the rules? Okay, let's dive into this. For decades, this was Disney. You know, this feeling of universally beloved, timeless magic. But lately, something's definitely changed. From box office bombs to really intense fan backlash over some of the remakes, the whole conversation around the company has just soured. How on earth did the studio that gave us these absolute classics end up creating so much division and controversy? So, let's break this down. It really is a tale of two studios. First, you've got the Disney Empire, which, right now, is facing a storm of stock crashes, huge losses on its streaming service, and what really feels like a creative identity crisis. We're going to see how all those struggles basically opened the door for a challenger nobody saw coming: Sony Animation. And look, this isn't just about what fans are feeling online. We're talking about cold, hard cash. This number, it's just staggering. A loss of $900 million on just their last 8 major movies. That is the clearest signal you could possibly get that the old Disney playbook, it just isn't working anymore. To really understand how far Disney has fallen, you've got to go back to the beginning. You have to look at what made them magical in the first place, and it was all built on this one simple but really powerful idea: creativity and quality come before everything else. This quote from Walt Disney himself, it says it all. Just do your best work, then try to trump it. That was the original mission. A relentless, obsessive focus on quality, on pushing boundaries. The money was always seen as something that came after you made great art, not the reason you made it. And that philosophy, it led to these periods of just unbelievable dominance, like the Disney Renaissance. I mean, look at this list. These weren't just movies, they were massive cultural events. They defined a generation, they won Oscars, and they cemented Disney's legendary status. It honestly felt like they could do no wrong. But then, under CEO Bob Iger, something changed. There was a huge shift in strategy. Instead of trying to innovate and create the next big thing from scratch, Disney decided it was way easier and a lot safer to just buy the competition. And the scale of this new plan was just massive. It really kicked off with buying Pixar, the one studio that was consistently making them look old-fashioned, for a jaw-dropping $7.4 billion. This was the first huge sign that Disney would rather buy its creative engine than try to build a new one. But the shopping spree didn't stop there. Nope. Just a few years later, they dropped another $4 billion to grab Marvel. At the time, it seemed like a big gamble. But, as we all know, it would become their single biggest moneymaker at the box office. And to complete the trifecta, they spent another $4 billion to buy Lucasfilm, giving them total control of the Star Wars galaxy. So, in just 6 years, Disney had bought up the biggest names in animation, superheroes, and sci-fi. They owned the whole playground. You can see the pattern pretty clearly, right? The company that once prided itself on doing the impossible had adopted a new, much more cynical motto: if you can't beat 'em, buy 'em. And this totally transformed Disney from a creative pioneer into a kind of corporate overlord. Now, this strategy of just buying up major franchises, it seemed brilliant on paper, but it came with some serious side effects. Things like creative stagnation, what people are calling franchise fatigue, and this growing, really painful disconnect with the very audience they were trying to capture. And you can see the results of that strategy right here in the numbers. It's kind of shocking. Over a 20-year period, a whopping 88% of Disney's billion-dollar blockbusters were remakes or sequels. Only 12% were truly original ideas. The studio had basically become a machine for recycling the past, not inventing the future. And this creative problem really hit a painful peak with their 100th anniversary film, Wish. This was supposed to be a huge celebration of their legacy, but it was widely slammed by both critics and audiences. They called it soulless, algorithmic,
It was a powerful and kinda sad symbol of a studio that seems to have lost its way.
All of this has led to a deeply divided fan base. So on one side, you have critics saying Disney is changing classic stories to fit a political agenda, creating these flawless, unrelatable characters, and then blaming the audience when the movies flop. But on the other side, you have defenders who argue that they're just updating old, dated ideas for today's world and providing some much-needed representation. The result, though, is this cultural tug-of-war that's left a huge chunk of their audience feeling alienated.
So what about those prized franchises they spent billions on? Well, the strategy of milking them for non-stop content has led to some serious burnout. The Star Wars sequel trilogy completely fractured the fan base. The MCU is now defined by superhero fatigue. And even Pixar, once the untouchable gold standard, has put out a whole string of movies that just haven't connected with audiences.
Okay, so while all of that was happening over at Disney, the other side of this story was taking shape. Sony, a studio that was, let's be honest, known for being pretty inconsistent, started to thrive. And they did it by embracing the very things Disney had left behind: creative freedom and artistic risk.
This slide just lays out the two different playbooks perfectly. With a recent Pixar film, Elio, unique themes were reportedly watered down or removed after test screenings to make the film safer and more generic. Now contrast that with Sony's Spider-Verse, where the producers were literally told to go make something different and were given the freedom to run with it. The result? A groundbreaking, Oscar-winning masterpiece.
And that risk-taking, it is paying off in huge, surprising ways. Take Sony's K-pop Demon Hunters, a movie about K-pop idols who hunt demons. I mean, that sounds like a bizarre, super niche idea, right? But it exploded. It hit #1 on Netflix worldwide in 48 hours. Its main song broke records set by real-life superstars like Blackpink. It became a genuine cultural moment, all from a wild idea. And this shift in what audiences are actually excited about is just, it's stunning. When Sony dropped the trailer for its brand new, totally original movie, Goat, it pulled in double the views in its first week than the trailer for Zootopia 2, a sequel to a beloved billion-dollar Disney hit. It's crystal clear that viewers are starving for something new. It all comes down to Sony's guiding philosophy, which is pretty much the exact opposite of Disney's right now. Instead of forcing everything to fit one consistent brand, their main rule is to reject a house style. This turns every single film into its own little universe, a playground for artists to experiment and totally redefine what animation can even look like. So after all that, what does this rivalry actually mean for the future of animation? What we're seeing are two very different, competing visions for where this entire industry is about to go.
So this entire rivalry really boils down to two opposing models for making movies. You've got the Disney model, safe, driven by familiar IP, focused on the commercial side, and just creatively cautious. And then you have the Sony model, bold, led by the creators themselves, focused on the art and defined by taking creative risks.
And that leaves us with the big final question. The battle between these two giants isn't just about who makes more money at the box office. It's really about the soul of animation itself. Is the future going to be built on the safe, familiar comfort of established brands? Or is it going to be forged by the unpredictable, exciting, and sometimes chaotic energy of bold, original new ideas? The answer is going to shape the stories we all see for years to come.